Living in Spain is worse than you think. 10 years ago, you could rent an apartment in Barcelona for just €650 a month. Today, that same apartment costs nearly double. In Madrid, rents have jumped 20% in just the past year. This isn't a localized problem, it's happening across the country. Over the last decade, nationwide rents have doubled, while salaries have only risen by about 20%. Now, 1 in 4 renting families spends more than 40% of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Spain is facing a perfect storm, a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis, and even an immigration dilemma, though not in the way you might expect. While Spain is experiencing record levels of immigration, many citizens are directing their frustration not at immigrants, but at another group, wealthy foreigners and tourists. In cities like Barcelona, tensions are boiling over. 1 in 4 residents is now an expat, and locals are increasingly priced out, sometimes forced to work as cleaners in the very homes they once called their own. Meanwhile, nearly 3.9 million homes, about 14% of Spain's entire housing stock, sit vacant. In Barcelona, entire historic neighborhoods have been hollowed out. Family-run stores and cultural landmarks have been replaced by tourist trinket shops. The Spanish people have had enough. Protests are erupting. Graffiti and even attacks on tourists have become expressions of deep frustration. But these symptoms point to a much deeper, structural crisis, one that could shape the future of Spain and even Europe for decades to come. The golden age that wasn't. To understand how Spain got here, we need to go back about 20 years. In the early 2000s, Spain appeared to be entering a golden era. After joining the EU and adopting the euro, the country gained access to cheap credit, a booming foreign investment pipeline, and an expanded market. The construction sector exploded. Between 2000 and 2009, Spain built 5 million new homes, a 25% increase in housing stock. At one point, Spain was building more homes than Germany, France, and the UK combined. 1 in 5 jobs was in construction. Unemployment, which had hovered around 20% for years, dropped to just 8%. Blue-collar workers were driving luxury cars. Even youth unemployment fell dramatically. The world called it the Spanish miracle. But foreign investors soon took notice. By 2007, the foreign population had grown from 2% to 10%. Investors weren't just buying homes to live in. They were buying to flip, rent, or hold as assets. Mortgage debt skyrocketed from €200 million in 2000 to over €1 billion in just 7 years. Prices soared, increasing 200% between 2000 and 2007. On the surface, things looked great. Incomes rose 14% between 2000 and 2007. But the boom wasn't sustainable. It was built on debt and speculation. And in 2008, it all collapsed. The crash that never ended. The global financial crisis hit Spain hard. Unemployment surged from 8% to over 20%. The construction sector, once the backbone of the economy, lost half its value, wiping out €100 billion annually. Housing starts plummeted from 600,000 a year to just 30,000. Families defaulted on mortgages. Communities crumbled. And yet, even as global attention moved on, Spain never truly recovered. Incomes have remained largely stagnant for nearly 2 decades, growing just 4%. Meanwhile, housing costs, especially in cities like Barcelona and Valencia, have surged by more than 10% annually. For ordinary Spaniards, life has never been harder. The empty homes problem, a key legacy of the crash? Empty homes. Around 600,000 homes were built during the boom but never sold. Today, around 450,000 of those remain uninhabited, 4 times Spain's annual housing output. Why? Because many of them are simply unlivable. Developers built far from cities, on cheap land with no infrastructure, banking on endless urban expansion. When the market crashed, that expansion never came. Now these ghost homes discourage new development. With such a surplus of unsold stock, developers see little incentive to build. From 600,000 homes annually in the 2000s, construction has slowed to just 80,000 per year, the second lowest rate in Europe. Demand rising, supply fading. Meanwhile, Spain's population continues to grow. In 1998, Immigrants made up 1.6% of the population. By 2022, that number hit nearly 20%, with 90% of 2023's population growth driven by immigration. Most newcomers are flocking to Madrid, Barcelona, and Valencia, putting immense pressure on already limited housing. Many aren't just looking for homes, they're looking for investments. This creates a cycle: rising demand, limited supply, skyrocketing prices. And locals? They're being pushed out. A bleak outlook for the young. Spain now has one of the highest youth unemployment rates in the EU, over 27%. But this isn't due to lack of ambition. Many young people simply can't afford to live in the cities where the jobs are. Rent for a studio in Barcelona is now over 1,200 euros a month. Spain's minimum wage? Euro 9.26 per hour, not nearly enough to survive. So young Spaniards stay home or leave the country entirely. And that's catastrophic for the economy. Without young people building careers, paying taxes, or starting families, economic growth grinds to a halt. Too little, too late. The government is finally taking notice. One bold proposal includes a 100% tax on property purchases by non-EU buyers, aiming to deter speculative buying and free up housing for locals. But there's a catch. Foreign investment, while damaging, is one of the few forces still motivating developers. Cut it off, and Spain could see new construction fall even further. And even if the policy works, it may be too late. The damage is deep. Decades of short-term thinking, speculation, and political inaction have led to a breaking point. And now Spain's future is hanging in the balance. An unlikely parallel: copper. At first glance, Spain's housing crisis and the global copper market seem unrelated. But they share a common theme: rising demand and limited supply. Copper is essential for modern infrastructure, from cities and transport to clean energy. Yet global production is falling short. By 2026, the US could face a 700,000-ton copper deficit. That's why the US is now treating copper as a national priority. Executive Order 14,213 has made copper a strategic resource. Tariffs and domestic investment are on the rise. Enter Giant Mining, ticker BFGF, today's video sponsor. They own the Majuba Hill copper-silver-gold project in Nevada and recently hit their best drill results ever. With a fully funded 2025 exploration program, Giant Mining could be a key player in the copper race. Their site produced millions in copper, silver, gold, and tin from the early 1900s to the 1950s, and they're just getting started. With shares currently down 50%, this might be the most compelling opportunity in the copper space right now.